Hey everybody, welcome back to Kali Conversation with me, Rick,
and M.A.N.
and this nice young man here who came all the way from
San Francisco.
Long
ways.
Far away.
This is Conrad Bowie. Woohoo! I got the name right.
Okay, all right.
I'm so happy.
That's a first.
That's a first.
I'm sure it's not.
It's pretty sad how I can get names with like 4 letters wrong. So that kind of tells you.
Hey, those are the toughest sometimes.
Yeah, it's the pronunciation. You never know.
We had a young lady here last two sessions ago.
Yeah.
Her name is Tammy Shea, right? But it's spelled Shueh.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I went with shoe.
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 He saw the U
Tammy Shue.
and automatically became Shoe.
I'm sure they, just like myself, we've heard all the iterations of our the pronunciation.
And that's why I asked you first,
Yeah.
because I'm like, how do you say this? Bai? Bowie? I'm like,
Hey, I know right away when someone calls me and if it's telemarketing or not. Hello, may I speak to Conrad? It's like, they're going really good, and then boom.
And then you're like, too late.
Oh, it's the first time they
click.
pronounce this name.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Now, I brought you in here because a couple of things. You and I met in a very untraditional way of meeting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we both went to an orientation, which is the thing that I'm supporting, and everybody get a chance, donate some money to this cause. They're called the United Peace Collaborative.
Yes.
And the young lady who founded it, Liana
Louis,
who we've had here as a guest, so proud of her.
Yeah.
This lady is my Wonder Woman. I mean, she's amazing. All by herself, she's tackled this incredible task to keep Chinatown safe. And in the beginning, they didn't even want her there.
Yeah, their own people were
They're
like,
very
who
much
you?
like,
Get away.
get away. We
Yeah.
don't want to, because they're that closed in Chinatown. But after a year, just picking at it and constantly saying, hello, hey, how are you? Every day without fail. Now they're like, hey, Liana, and they just love the heck out of her.
She's amazing. I have no idea how she juggles family, work, and then this.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
and when we talked to her, she was doing the patrols 24/7 basically almost.
Yeah.
I mean, she came in, she was looking, like, oh, why didn't you tell me we were going to be in front of a camera? I would have brought lipstick. I'm like,
She's so cool.
yeah,
she really is.
She's awesome, and she's got a heart of a lion.
Yes.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
she does.
I mean, she won't take any gruff, but she's the nicest person in the world.
She is. She's
which
really
is
cool.
you see these different things about her, and the way she handles herself, even in front of a camera, no matter what the situation is, she's always just there. But she won't mince words.
I get a feeling from him though too, because when I saw him walking, I was like, yeah, you really are unassuming. But then I look at his resume and I'm like, this
Bullshit.
guy's dangerous.
This guy is dangerous. We did our research, by the way.
That's the thing. Like, very few dangerous people really look dangerous. There's so
Really?
many unassuming people
Yeah.
walking around.
No,
there.
Hollywood
I-
has
I-
really messed up my perception of that.
And that's why I always tell my students, be humble. You have no idea who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Well,
You have
that's
no
one of the things
idea.
that we always say. We always say, that guy that you're getting ready to fight, always assume he can beat your ass
Oh yeah.
until he proves he can't,
yeah.
and then beat the shit out of him. No, I'm just kidding.
But you just never know. That's the cool thing about martial arts.
Yeah.
There isn't a certain physique that yells, I'm dangerous.
Right.
You could be big, you could be small, you could be young, you could be old, male, female, black, white, yellow, green, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's the cool thing about martial arts. If you get good enough, it becomes kind of quote unquote a superpower. And
I agree.
You don't know who owns that superpower.
Right.
So it's always good to be humble.
Yeah, it's our little secret identity until it gets tossed out. Then they're like, oh shit, this guy's good.
Oh yeah, that guy's just a chiropractor. No.
No, he can break bones as well. He doesn't just fix them. So let me ask you this: because of what's been going on in the world with the anti-Asian thing going on, and what was it for you that gave you the call to say, hey, I want to join that group? Because for me, I had seen a Filipino old man get beat up in front of his own house, one day, and I was like, okay, I've had enough. I need to do something. So I looked around and talked to people, and we even created this free seminar. Look on it on YouTube. I just posted it up. What was it for you?
Something very similar too. Just seeing all these videos on social media of our elders, our seniors being attacked, and so I think at first I wanted to help by just posting and reposting these videos and just sharing it out there and making people aware. Also, there's a lot of articles as well too.
Yeah.
All the media outlets are covering it. And so I would just repost those. I think that helps in part because the more we have intelligent, mature conversations about these issues,
Right.
No name calling, no pointing fingers at anyone, just intelligent conversations, the more we shed light on these dark subjects.
But isn't that what we're combating, though? Is the lack of intelligence?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And so if we share that, that's kind of doing a part too.
Okay.
Some people are like, what can I do? What can I do? Well, you don't have to do what you and I did, join some kind of patrol group or some kind of group
Right.
even. You can do your little part by talking to people and having these conversations, sharing what's on social media as well too that pertains to these subjects because this is something that isn't talked about.
Right.
You
Let me
know.
ask you
Sadly.
this, because your writing conversations are good, but I've had many conversations with people, and if they're on the other side of that fence, it's a tough conversation,
It is.
right?
It
I mean,
is,
you're
yeah.
almost getting ready to go through blows because
Yeah.
and I'm a real pacifist of sorts. But sometimes I almost want to punch that guy across from me just because you know what I mean?
I get you,
mean,
I
it
get
gets to that
Yeah,
point
yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and I hate to sound like that, but it's a sad reality that what are you doing? Do you understand what you're saying to me and how odd? But to them, it sounds perfectly fine because that's their opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say anything bad about hey, your stance is your stance. I get it. But how do we meet in the middle?
I think sometimes you can't meet in the middle. It's just the way they're brought up, and I think a part of it, from my point of view, anyways, is looking at them with compassion. Like, I haven't been through what they've been through. I wasn't raised the way they were raised. I didn't live in their same village. So it's important for me to remember, usually in an argument, there's intelligent people on both sides of an
You would
issue.
hope.
Yes, but at
Enough
the same
of them.
time,
Enough of them.
yeah, but at the same time, I need to try to remember that because if I forget that, I'm gonna start to distance myself from them, thinking
Right.
you're just stupid, you're ignorant, and you're hard-headed,
Learn.
and I'm not gonna listen to you anymore.
Right.
But if I get into that, well, then there's this big wall, and there goes my mature conversation I'm trying to have,
Yeah,
my
you're-
intelligent conversation I'm trying to have. With a
You're
person.
lowering yourself too.
Absolutely. So I want to remember that. And sometimes we can't meet in the middle. And I understand that. I accept that. I just think
We agree to disagree.
absolutely. And we can still be respectful about that. We can still respect each other. Your background, my background, I'll respect your background. It's all good. But the more we talk about this, we're going to start
We're missing your beautiful face.
we're going to start nicking away
Yeah.
at those wrong beliefs. We're going to start shedding more light on the dark subject. And the dark subjects don't like light. So the more we can talk about it, and we're not going to change anything in our lifetime, possibly. Right?
Yeah,
And
no,
all
I
we can
agree.
do is just kind of push that string uphill with our nose.
Yeah.
That's about all we can do, and that's okay. That's okay. And I want to say this, and I've been on other podcasts and talks where we talk about this situation. I do want to say, and right now everyone's like, I can't believe what's happening right now. This is terrible. I don't understand where the direction of the U.S. is going. Hey, take a step back.
Yeah, it's been
100 years ago, there were lynch mobs.
yes.
I'm talking.
in Chinatown, San Francisco.
They
yes.
could hang you up.
Yeah.
And the law would look the other direction.
It would not care. yes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Especially if you look like.
or
Yeah.
exactly. And so 100 years ago, it was a lot worse. I can imagine looking at it, taking a big step back. 100 years from now, it'll get better. It will get better. Right now, people are so focused on this. It is a big issue, and it's great. You know, we're
We
talking
need to shed the light, yeah.
about Black Lives Matter. We're talking about Stop Asian Hate. We're talking about all this, and it's great. It's great, and I think again we're kind of rolling that string uphill with our nose, and it's just going to take some time.
You know, and that calls to my mind because I'm a big Star Trek fan. And if you watch the shows from back in the in the '60s when they first came out, Gene Roddenberry had this incredible idea that by the time 23,000 come around, that all of this colors and stuff would never matter. If you ever, I don't know if you watch the show or not,
Yeah,
but I love that show because of what it says about our future.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about now, how it was 100 years ago, how brutal that was, and to where we are now, how still kind of brutal it is.
Yeah.
Down the road, like you said, it's going to take a while. And Gene Roddenberry is like, yeah, here's what has to happen, because at a certain point, society would not be able to sustain itself by killing itself off.
Yeah.
Something had to change.
I want to hit you with the wrench on that one, though.
Yeah.
Just because things have gotten so far from what they used to be, I think far too many people have forgotten that before step to getting here, that we've sort of, again, turned a blind eye to a lot of the issues that we could have been working on all along.
And
it takes this kind of, shake, like social shake, to be, oh, wait, there are stuff we still need to work on. There are things still to improve.
And people, this whole thing with the police officer who was convicted of all, sure, it's the first step, but that same day, you had another 15-year-old girl get shot, 5 times, and it's like, are we really moving forward, or do we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or vice? I mean, how do you go to these people and say, okay?
Feels like we're pushing that string with our nose, but our hands are weighted down.
No. I also have this question, and I don't think there's a real answer to it. Has all this always been happening, and now we're just hearing about it?
Yeah.
Or is it getting worse? And so. Is it always been there, but now we have more media exposure, we have more cell phones, we have more social media.
That's what
and now we're hearing about it, or has it just always been happening and just everyone's looking the other way?
Turning a blind eye to it. I believe that would be the case more so than anything else. Is that it's been there, and like you said, they figure if nobody brings any attention that, ignorance is bliss.
Well, always.
If you didn't know about it, what do you care at that point? But now that it's being brought out, because like I said, I'm watching the news and I'm seeing this old man get tossed, and I'm like, okay, now I had to make a stand and say, hey, this has got to stop. What can I do to do, And oddly enough, Naina and I kind of went back and forth on this, because when I first brought it to his attention, I wanted to do something. He went along with me, right? But to his credit, he said, Rick, there's something wrong in the way you're coming at this. You don't look right. You're not acting right about it. You're just saying stuff, and it sounds like you're saying it out of anger. And he set me straight. So I went home that day, and I rethought about everything. I said, okay, he was right. And what I found was that when I looked at this, I was mad. I wanted to just go out there and do, and whatever. And so, okay, we got to train everybody to, and teach old people how to beat up somebody and blah, blah, blah. But you and I both know that's a bad approach. And if you watched my the show that we put up, the free seminar, in that, we don't talk about having these people fight. Bring somebody with you. Go out in pairs. Don't walk around by yourself. And I said, because who am I to teach a 65, 70-year-old person how to break away from a arm bar or a really, because it isn't going to happen. And if it does, they're probably going to get more hurt than if they just not did any of that. So I had to rethink it, and I said, okay, I'm not. I was actually mad about the fact that he was right.
No.
So I
had doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, but I had to fix that, and I realized I was looking at it with angry eyes. Because that's our first knee-jerk reaction, right?
Yes,
is to be angry.
Absolutely. And I like how you talked about him changing your mind and your opinion, that shows that you've got a growth mindset, and that's a good thing. I'm not very religious, but I would consider myself, if they asked, I would say I'm a Buddhist, and we learned that anger is rarely conquered by anger. You just can't beat anger by throwing more anger at the situation. It's like trying to put out fire with gasoline. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't happen.
Well, scientific. No.
Can you? I don't know. I've never tried it. That's what people say. But
Kerosene's more flammable.
We're taught that anger is destroyed by compassion, by love, by positive actions. And like what you said, it's really easy to get angry when you watch this footage and you read what's going on. And, sometimes you got to take a step back and just remember that we just can't beat this with more anger and more violence. And sometimes you kind of almost feel like saying, "Hey, Asian brothers and sisters, let's get together and let's form a group."
Here's a spear. Here's a club. Here's a stick.
Let's circle the wagons and everything. But
let's put on a show.
Yeah.
Do a Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney thing. Let's put on a show in the barn.
But at the same time, that kind of forms that barrier again.
Yeah,
that puts up that wall. And
it becomes us versus them.
And that's the thing we're trying to get rid of.
Right.
And so I think it's
ironic.
It's the good people should circle the wagons.
In protection of other people.
Yeah, the good people, regardless of your race, your religion, your age, your gender, regardless of all that.
What do you think is the underlying causes of some of these things? Because I've always felt that, especially when there's a robbery in the midst of hitting an Asian person, right? Because they say, "Oh, we're doing this because they brought the pandemic here. They brought the virus, blah blah blah." But obviously they did not. That happened in China. You're beating up Asian Americans. So obviously your mindset is wrong. Yeah. So that mentality already has got you. But once they knock the person down, that should have been it. If that was just a hate thing, next thing you know, they're taking their wallets, cell phones, and whatever else. And to me, I've always thought of it as an excuse to mug somebody. Mm-hmm. And the guise of, you Chinese, blah, blah, blah. You hit the guy, and then you take his stuff. Yeah. Like, well, that becomes something different. I've always felt that, wait a minute, then you really weren't there because of the virus thing. You're there because opportunity said, oh, look, this guy might have some money.
Easy target.
Yeah. So now, and I hate that I think of it that way, but that's almost a reality. That's what I'm seeing a lot.
You are a bit cynical, though.
Yeah, but I'm a realist. I look at things and I say, okay. Good example, right? You have a peaceful protest going on. Mm-hmm. The moment it turns nighttime, that peaceful protest is now looting. And ransacking and getting Nike shoes and whatever else. Yeah. And we know that it wasn't the same peaceful protesters. These are just the opportunists who go out in the...
It went from 500 to 1,000 all of a sudden.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And it's, again, the opportunities that come about because of these things. And these people who are trying to have a peaceful protest, who are trying to do the right thing, get marred, in such a bad way that, protesting is not a good thing. Yeah. It takes away from what that goodness was. Like you said, of the people, the good people who are trying to do something right, who are trying to be helpful and trying to be respectful of the law, then it just becomes chaos.
Yeah. Is there a question involved?
Well, it's just to me, it just seems like, how do you then get those people who are opportunists to keep away and say, hey, look, we're trying to do something for your dumbasses, and here it is, you come mess it up. Right? That's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is there's always going to be violence and
people
on the outside. Luckily, they're the small minority, but they make all the noise. Yeah.
Squeaky wheel and all.
Yeah. Back to your comment about attacking, older, the seniors, citizens. That's sad. And I think what you were talking about, there's issues of possibly racism, and then there's issues of violence and robbery as well too. And what can you say? They're predators, and it's, a couple things. One thing is usually when you look at a situation, some good does come out of it. The good thing is it brings to light that this is a violent world. Things happen.
Sad reminder, but
Yeah,
true.
it is a violent world. So that's a good thing. You know, people need to be reminded it's a violent world. We don't care what color you are. If you're black, you're white, you're Asian. There's violence. There's potential for violence. And so that's a good thing. That brings the light to that. The other thing that we can prepare for these things, because we now know it's a violent world, and people are reminded, and more people are looking into self-defense. More people are
now
looking
they're
into
becoming more cognizant of what they should be doing to keep
personal protection. You know, they're buying mace, they're buying sound alarms, they're buying tactical knives and pens and flashlights. They're looking into the training, and so that's a good thing.
I forgot my beads.
The bad thing, though, I talked to a police officer about this. He said, "Okay, yeah, that's a good thing. Unfortunately, you know, social media, you're going to get copycats as well too. People that go, oh wow, look at that kid. He just jump kicked this dude in a wheelchair. I want that video too. I'm going to go and get some of that." And so he said,
I want the clout.
Yeah, there's some potential for that.
And you
as
would
well,
hope
too.
that these social media companies would just cut those off right away and not allow them to.
But that's their
post
bread and
them up.
butter.
Yeah, but even still, though, I mean, here it is. Then it almost seems like you're condoning that violence by putting it on your.
The thing is that a lot of those videos don't have the before and after. They don't have the content to say,
that's what I'm saying.
is
All it
this
looks
just
like,
some odd stunt, or is this related to something else, or is this a copycat? So how do you then? I don't think it's very feasible or realistic that you'd be able to police such content, because there are enough other people who are doing it and are willing participants in the process.
Yeah.
So how can you tell the difference without?
And that's that's the sad reality, right? But even still, does it make it all right that you're able to? If I show a video of me punching some guy because